Now in a pan I'm putting 2 heaped tablespoons of black treacle. This is Lyle's black treacle and it's got the lion on. As you can see, it says Abram Lyle and Sons, sugar refiners. Now at one time it was Tate and Lyle. And an interesting fact about Henry Tate, his father William was a Unitarian. So there we go, look. Here are the margarine and black treacle melting in the pan over the low to medium flame. Now if you want a dark sticky gingerbread but don't have any treacle, then you could add a teaspoon of gravy browning to the dry ingredients. That doesn't really appeal to me very much. I think I would rather have a lighter batter and use golden syrup. Well, grand day rising everybody, and welcome back to my channel and another episode of my historical recipes series. Now some of you may hold your head in your hands, oh no, while others may go yay. I usually go yay because I love recreating these old recipes, some of course older than others. This one is from the Second World War in the UK and it's for sticky gingerbread. This recipe is taken from We'll Eat Again by Marguerite Patten. Now during the war, having a cake or a pudding or other treat lifted the mealtime experience because most of the meals were pretty bland and quite beige. However, although we enjoyed our treats, the Ministry of Food stressed that these were luxuries and that necessity came first. Anyway, I'm using 1 egg in this recipe. Normally you'd use a tablespoon of dried egg reconstituted with 2 tablespoons of water. The other ingredients will remain as we see them. So let's get started. First of all, line the base of a loaf tin. This is 7 by 4 inches, which is the correct size, with either greaseproof paper, greased, or else you can use a butter paper. I usually keep all my butter papers, however most of them are foil lined, but if they're the old-fashioned type I usually line my pans with those. You will see that I have used 2 strips of greaseproof paper. When I cut baking paper to size, I always retain the cut-offs because they do come in useful for cake baking. Make sure that these cut-offs do overlap and are well greased like this one. Put all the dry ingredients in the bowl. So firstly I have 6 ounces or 175 grams of self-raising flour. This is gluten-free flour. Now during the war you often couldn't get anything like self-raising, so in that case use plain flour with 3 teaspoons of baking powder. We want a pinch of salt, then we want a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda. There we go. Then we want a teaspoon of ground ginger and 1 of ground mixed spice. We can use cinnamon, or you could use half and half. I'm adding 2 ounces of caster sugar. You can sift these if you like, but I haven't bothered. Now in a pan I'm putting 2 heaped tablespoons of black treacle. This is Lyle's black treacle and it's got the lion on. As you can see, it says Abram Lyle and Sons, sugar refiners. Now at one time it was Tate and Lyle. And an interesting fact about Henry Tate, his father William was a Unitarian. So there we go, look. Now you could also add your sugar to the pan, and indeed the original recipe states that, but I put the sugar in as a dry ingredient. It doesn't really matter. But the most important thing is that we now add 2 ounces of margarine to the pan and put it over a low to medium heat just to give everything time to melt. Here are the margarine and black treacle melting in the pan over the low to medium flame. Now, if you want a dark, sticky gingerbread but don't have any treacle, then you could add a teaspoon of gravy browning to the dry ingredients. That doesn't really appeal to me very much. I think I would rather have a lighter batter and use golden syrup. Taking this off the heat, let's add those wet ingredients to the bowl. And now we're adding a tablespoon and a half of milk. This is a half tablespoon measure, so I'm going to add 3 of these. If you don't feel confident about doing this way, just put a little in a cup and then spoon it from the cup. There we go. I'm going to beat this well. It already smells like gingerbread. It smells lovely. There we go. Also here in a pan now are 6 tablespoons of water. I didn't wash the pan out. It's just gone in with the remnants of the treacle and the margarine, and this now must reach boiling point. And then we'll take it off the heat, allow it to cool a little, and then add it to the batter. I'm stirring everything around in the pan to make sure nothing is left behind. But that's just about ready now. I'm just going to set it aside for a couple of moments because I've used a fresh egg. I don't want that egg to curdle. I've also put the oven on. I'm heating it to 160 Celsius, 325 Fahrenheit, gas Mark 3, which is the equivalent of a moderately slow oven, which the recipe states. Now the water mixture is cooled, I'm pouring it into the bowl, and I'll give that a good beat. Look at that, that's nice and smooth. And now I'm going to tip that into the cake pan and we'll pop it in the oven. Now that doesn't look like a lot, admittedly, but once it starts to bake in the oven, it will rise because it's self-raising flour we're using, and we've also used a little bicarbonate of soda, and we've also got an egg. But this is the shape it needs to be, even if it's not very deep. And then just give it a shake and a tap, especially if you're using gluten-free flour, that's really important. It does help to level it out. That's in the oven now, and it will bake at 160 Celsius for about 50 minutes. If it starts to smell done though, after 40-45 minutes, I'll test it with a skewer to see how we're getting on. The gingerbread has had 50 minutes exactly. The skewer came out clean, so I'll set this aside now for a few minutes and then turn it out onto a wire rack to cool completely. Right, this dark sticky gingerbread has cooled now on the rack. I'm going to wrap it now in greaseproof paper and store it in either a tin or a Tupperware box until tomorrow. Most recipes for any ginger cakes or gingerbread or parking usually state that the flavour will vastly improve with a day or two of storage before cutting into it. I'm not sure I can wait more than 24 hours, so I'll see you back tomorrow and we'll cut a slice off then and see what it tastes like. Well, hello folks, it's the next day, so let's have a piece of this cake. Let's see what it's like. This is a slice of cake, or gingerbread, as the recipe calls it. Look at the structure on that, nice and airy. It breaks easily, but not too easily. It smells gingery. It's got a very pleasant texture. It isn't as sticky as the recipe claims it to be, but it is a nice texture. You can taste the treacle. There isn't a lot of sugar or fat in it. Even though it's not terribly sticky, it's a reasonably moist texture. Nice and light, full of flavour. I could see that being very popular during the Second World War and worth saving your meagre rations for. I think it would be nice with some ice cream actually. But what do you think of it? I think it's a nice recipe. Let me have your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Please share and subscribe. Ding the notification bell. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for the next one. Until then, I'm going to enjoy finishing this cake, and I've made a cup of tea to go with it. So bye for now.